Did you know that up to 70% of travelers experience digestive issues abroad? Do you know how to protect yourself from it?
You're listening to Viasana, a travel medicine podcast brought to you by AMSA IMU University with Professor Gerard Flaherty.
Join us as we explore what travel medicine is all about, how you can protect your health while traveling, and the exciting career opportunities in safeguarding travelers.
Hi everyone, and welcome back to an episode of Viasana, where we talk about staying healthy, prepared, and being confident while exploring the world. I'm Ashwin.
And I'm Aishwarya. We are your hosts for today. Last week, we talked about travelers with special need. But in today's episode, we'll be diving into something every traveler deals with. What to do when things don't go exactly as planned.
Whether it's food poisoning in Bangkok, altitude sickness while hiking Mount Kinabalu, or mysterious insect bites in Borneo, being on the move comes with a lot of real health risk.
But don't worry, we got you covered. With us today, we have our favorite recurring guest, Prof Gerard, who's back again to talk to us about travel safety.
Would you like to say hi, Prof. Gerard?
Hello, everyone. Good to be back.
All right, but that's not all, Aishwarya. We also have a new guest today. Let us now invite Associate Professor Puneet Agarwal to give us a few words of introduction.
Thanks, Ashwin, and I'm really excited to be part of this episode. My primary specialty is ophthalmology, and currently I'm also involved in coordinating the medical curriculum at our university. And we have been working quite closely with Prof Gerard to bring more travel medicine training to our students. And with increasing travel worldwide, training our students in the field is certainly the need of the hour. And honestly, it's relevant to every specialty, even ophthalmology. I hope to contribute to this discussion with Prof. Gerard. Thank you.
I agree, Doctor. Travel medicine is a very important but also widespread field. So having experts from various fields will definitely help and add to the discussion. Shall we start, Aishwarya?
Sure. Okay, so before moving on, we have a couple of segments today. As for the first segments, let's start with environment, which is something most travelers overlook until it becomes a very big problem.
Dr. Puneet, what are some of the biggest environmental health risks for travelers, especially those adventurous ones?
Hey, what comes to my mind, the one risk that is from the UV rays. Okay, travelers do go to these snow-filled mountains where the sunlight exposure is a lot, and those UV rays are excessive. So they are exposed to that UV rays, and they can develop a condition called photokeratitis. I think all skiers know about it, but sometimes travelers are not aware of that. So damage to the cornea because of the excessive UV damage, that is something that certainly comes to my mind as an environmental kind of risk to the eyes. Long-term risks are cataracts, but we are not worried about that much. We are more worried about the short-term risk. And the one that comes up to my mind is this, which is damage to the cornea while traveling and going on areas where there is a strong UV radiation. Like going to Australia, there's a lot of harmful UV radiation. So do use sunglasses for that. I think that's what I'll say.
Okay, thank you so much, Doctor. That was such a wonderful insight. I think whenever someone talks about UV rays or the sun, we always think about skin first, but you gave us so much information about how it also affects our eyes. So next, we'll move on to talking about the sun. So sunscreen aside, Prof. Gerard, what do you think are the best tips to avoid heat exhaustion or sun damage?
Yeah, so excellent points there from Dr. Puneet. I remember being on Kilimanjaro in Tanzania in 2003, and when you get to the crater rim, there's a large glacier there. It's getting smaller now with climate change, but it's called the Furtwängler Glacier. and the intense reflection of the UV light from the snow, because so little of it is absorbed by the snow, can be very damaging to the eyes. Snow blindness is well described, as Dr. Puneet mentioned. So I always told the trekkers in our group, make sure you have 2 pairs of sunglasses, because you might lose one or one might break. You really will need it at that point. It's so important. So good points. In terms of sun damage, well, being Irish, being from sort of far northern hemisphere, our skin type tends to be fair for the most part, and so we're particularly tuned into this when we travel. And so this is something I would routinely mention in the consultation. I think you should warn people, when is the sun at its most intense? And people might have the impression that they're more likely to get sunburnt at the equator. But as Dr. Puneet mentions, travel to the extremities of the hemispheres, even our own hemisphere, the solar radiation can be more intense. And so advise people, maybe don't plan too much outdoor activities between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. on average. Sometimes it's unavoidable, of course. Be careful that there can be radiation, UV radiation, that can get in through a window. So if you're on a bus, I prefer not to be at the window if I'm in a hot country, because certainly you can get photo aging through the window on a long journey, and sunburn. But also, encourage people to wear wide-brimmed hat, sunglasses, and make sure they have hydration, because some people go off on a hike and then they're assuming that they're going to find some fluids on the way. So they should have a good source of hydration and bring more than enough, because there may be some mishap on the way, and then they find themselves stranded and getting more and more dehydrated. And to be able to be alert to the signs of dehydration, that's difficult in yourself, but if there's other people there, you should know what to look out for in them. And typically people get quieter, get a bit more drowsy, more confused, maybe their judgment seems a bit impaired. And this can quickly progress in those who are susceptible, to heat stress. It can be heat exhaustion, as you mentioned, but also you can have more severe forms culminating even in heat stroke, which can be fatal.
Thank you, Dr. Gerard. Lots of very dense and useful advice. I'll be definitely sure to keep a wide brim hat in my wardrobe next time I go traveling. So I love hiking personally, and I've come to know that both you and Dr. Puneet also are avid hikers. Why not give us some quick tips for travelers who love going hiking or off-grid? Let's start with Dr. Puneet.
Yeah, again, what comes to my mind immediately is while you're hiking, if you are certainly using glasses, which most of us do, means prescription glasses or contact lenses. And certainly, if you are hiking in a tropical country or a tropical climate, you'll be sweating a lot. So you are likely to have a slippage of your glasses or fogging of your glasses. Okay, that happens quite frequently. And I think those who hike in tropical climates will know that. So I think you should be prepared for that. So always carry a backup glass with you if you are going off grid. Certainly you might lose your glasses or you might break your glasses, and then you will have a lot of blurry vision and a lot of accidents may happen. So that is one advice I'll give to the travelers who are using prescription glasses. And even those who are not using prescription glasses or carrying some protective gear or glasses, they must carry a spare one. They must carry a spare one so that in case of breakage or loss, they have a spare one to use. That would be the one that comes to my mind readily.
Thank you, Doctor. So glasses, listeners, remember, this has been repeated multiple times. So whenever you go hiking, be sure to bring an extra pair. Now, one more last advice from you, Dr. Gerard.
Well, I think Dr. Puneet has focused on the eyes, and it's great to have an ophthalmologist on this episode. It's so useful. Yeah. I'd like to mention the feet because people can sometimes neglect that, and they may wear a bright new shiny pair of boots that they've just bought. And I think it's important when you're traveling abroad to use a well-worn-in pair of boots that you're comfortable with. In fact, I've often advised trekkers to high altitude to wear them on the airplane, because your feet will swell a little bit on the plane, as they will at high altitude too. So what you don't want is a pair of boots that look beautiful, but they're just a little bit too tight because the foot then may get swollen, and then next thing you have um, lesions on the skin. You may eventually get skin breakdown, eventually blister and an ulcer. So you have to be careful. Always bring some blister plasters. And look after your feet. You can moisturize the feet when you get to camp then, and take off your boots and watch out for areas of pressure, areas of redness. And I always recommend applying a blister plaster before there's a blister there. There should be for protection and cushioning. But I think it's really important not to neglect a blister. I've seen blisters get badly infected, and at high altitude, that is absolutely the end of the person's high altitude trekking experience. And they could have paid many thousands of ringgits for their experience, and yet the trip is ended because they didn't look after their feet. There are lots of other advice we could give, but there may be some key nuggets for today.
Okay, thank you so much, both Prof Puneet and Prof Gerard. Funny story, I'm actually going hiking this Sunday, so I think your advice is really good, and I'll definitely remember to bring an extra pair of glasses as well as bring like blister patches and wear comfortable shoes when I'm hiking this Sunday. So I think that's all for the first segment. Next, we'll be moving on to infections, bugs, and food safety. So now on to the most common travel complaint, which is getting sick. Prof Puneet, what do you think are the most top infectious disease people face on the road?
Okay, I'll focus on mainly the eye again, since I'm an ophthalmologist. Yes, Prof. Gerard will touch on other diseases or bugs or parasites that you're exposed to. When it comes to eyes, certainly certain areas in the world have some parasitic infections, and we know those certainly in Africa, which can cause blindness, and it used to be called a river blindness. Okay, so it's still quite common there. It's not that it has disappeared. So if you are traveling to those areas, be aware of this condition. Okay, and do take precautions while you are going hiking and all. You can be exposed to them. And another common infection of the eye, which is usually benign or innocuous, is conjunctivitis. Very common. And certainly, if you are traveling to a tropical country, viral conjunctivitis is very common, and it is perennial. Perennial means it is throughout the year. You come in contact with a person for 15-20 minutes, you will get this conjunctivitis, which is very annoying and may actually throw all your plans. Okay, you might have a difficulty in seeing also, because it does cause some blurriness of vision. So I would again say the protection is basically again use glasses. Okay, even if you are not using sorry, there was an interruption. So even if you are not using prescription glasses, you may carry one glass, okay, and use them. So it protects from direct contact from the person and does have some protection against conjunctivitis. So my advice would be, and another important thing is whenever you are traveling, uh, you need to carry ocular lubricants, which come very handy during these infections. So these are the things that come to my mind.
Thank you, Dr. Puneet. So, glasses and being aware of viral conjunctivitis and also bringing lubricant for the eyes. We'll all keep that in mind. So now on to you, Dr. Gerard. We always hear about mosquito bites. Do repellents actually work, and which ones should people actually use?
Yes, they do work. So it's very important that we encourage our travelers to use them. And sometimes people will say, oh, perhaps I can just get the local one. But you may do, but you may not understand what ingredients are there. You may not understand the writing, and there just may not be an opportunity to purchase it there. So I always recommend people bring enough for their trip if they can. If it's a very long trip, they'll bring enough maybe for the first month and then purchase more while they're there. Now, DEET is the most effective according to the studies, and these studies are very well conducted. It involves volunteers who offer their arms, and they're subjected to mosquito bites, and they use mosquito cages, and they count the number of bites per square centimeter of skin in both arms, applying one repellent in one arm and either no repellent in the other arm or a different repellent. So we know that they're effective. They've been tested. At least 20% DEET applied outside the sunscreen. That's important. Apply the sunscreen first, wait 15 minutes, and then apply the DEET. That is certainly the correct way to apply it. And apply it throughout the day. So don't just apply repellent once. Most of the commercial repellents will recommend application at least twice during the day. Some will offer 6 to 8 hours of protection on the skin, and some are waterproof as well. So get the right repellent for your particular activities. But there are alternatives. There's Icaridin, there are others. Eucalyptus is certainly effective. Citronella, if it's available, is effective, but they appear to be inferior to DEET. And DEET is very effective and safe even for young people and even pregnant women. So above the age of 2 months, you'll be comfortable applying DEET, but you'll apply a lower concentration. But there are alternatives also for children. But the key thing is to wear some repellent and to apply it all over the exposed skin, avoiding the eyes and mouth. Not to forget the feet. People don't sometimes put it on their feet. They're wearing sandals. The bacteria between your toes attract mosquitoes, and they're wondering why they're getting all these bites around the feet. Mosquitoes don't like to fly too high. They'd be very happy to get their blood meal from your feet, ankles, and legs. Don't forget the mosquito bed nets as well, in particular environments where there's a malaria risk and you may not be able to avoid mosquito bites during the night.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof. Gerard. As someone who is the part of a population where mosquitoes like to pick on the most, I think that was really good advice because I don't reapply my repellent and I don't put it on my feet as well. So I think that's a major issue that a lot of people, they ignore. So moving on, we'll be talking about food. And we Malaysians, we all love street food. So to both Prof. Puneet and Prof. Gerard, what are the signs that it shows that it's not safe to eat or consume?
Do you want to go first, Dr. Puneet, or will I?
I think you go, Prof. Gerard.
Well, it's interesting because recently at the 19th conference of the ISTM, which was held in New Orleans, USA, we had a discussion, a debate devoted to street food. And we had people from different parts of the world, and they were talking about their own street food. We were all feeling very hungry watching their beautiful slides, but we were discussing the health risks around them. And I think after that, people's attitude towards street food might have changed somewhat. We tend to be very negative towards it in travel medicine. And that's based on the fact that in a street food environment, you often don't have flowing hot water. You typically don't have. The hand hygiene is certainly suboptimal. The surfaces are not cleaned to the extent that they would be in a premises, a licensed premises. And you'll certainly see flies, vectors of disease, around the raw ingredients, the mixing of different types of ingredients that would normally be segregated. So it is not an ideal place for preparing food to very high safety standards. Now, people have different gut flora depending on where they are in the world and what their diet is. So local people where street food is common may tolerate this very well. They may have some traveler's diarrhea, but not to the extent that we would as naive travelers with a very different gut microbiota. So we always give advice to avoid street food. But of course, I know that travelers, especially younger travelers, will be very much drawn to street food. It's cheaper. It's part of the culture of a country. It's something they want to share on social media. Lots of blogs will recommend it. We don't have very good data on the outcomes of people who eat street food. So it is understudied, and therefore perhaps we shouldn't be as dogmatic about it. But in general, be circumspect around the hygiene, particularly the hand hygiene available in street food markets, and make sensible decisions around that. If it's well cooked, it's much safer. It's likely to be much safer.
Prof. Puneet, what do you think about food safety?
Yes, I agree with Prof. Gerard. I think we all love street food, but we have to be careful. And this is my personal experiences where I have traveled to many countries which have a questionable hygiene, especially regarding street food. Certainly, undercooked food, a well-cooked food saves you a lot. Okay, and a freshly cooked food Raw food, raw vegetables, be very careful about them. Okay, whether they have been washed well or not, and they might have amoeba there crawling there. So fresh leafy vegetables, and they are a lot in tropical countries, and certainly they need to be washed thoroughly and are a big source of infection. So that's all from my side.
Okay, thank you so much, Prof Puneet and Prof Gerard. That was really good because I think food poisoning is something a lot of people experience when traveling, and it ruins their trip entirely because they have to run to the toilet due to diarrhea multiple times, and it makes a trip that is very bad, a bad experience for them.
Well,
So you
could I just add there, 10% of cases of travelers' diarrhea are severe, and that will typically involve hospitalization, intravenous antibiotics, and significant complications. So even though travelers' diarrhea is very common, and in many cases the illness just lasts 2 days or three, there is a subset, cases with dysentery and so on, where people are very ill, can become dehydrated, suffer from hypovolemic shock, acute renal failure. Some are very complicated. So we do need to be careful about it.
Thank you so much for Prof. Gerard. So, talking about severe cases, now we'll move on to our next segments. And let's talk about accidents. What are the most common travel injuries and how people can prepare for them? What do you think about this, Prof. Puneet?
Okay, coming to accidents, these are certainly common when you are in alien environment, when you are traveling and you're going hiking or doing adventurous activities. Certainly, these accidents do happen quite frequently. As related to ophthalmology, we see a lot of scratched corneas. Okay, scratched corneas are very, very common. And certainly, when you go hiking, there are leaves or tree branches hanging there, which are at your eye level. And certainly, you have to be very, very careful. A brush of a leaf can actually scratch your cornea, and it's a very, very painful condition. It's a very painful condition and may spoil your whole trip there. Yes, it does heal quite fast, and maybe putting ocular lubricants for some time and keeping your eyes closed for a few minutes or hours may heal those scratches or corneal abrasions, as we call them. So again, the same advice: do use glasses, do use protective wear to avoid these trauma or the injuries, which are quite common during hiking and other travel. So that would be my advice about eye injuries, to avoid eye injuries and to manage eye injuries well during your travel.
Thank you, Dr. Puneet. You know what they say, eyes are our window to the world. So listeners, remember to always take care of your eyes. Going on onto the topic of accidents, Prof. Gerard, is basic first aid knowledge enough? And should people carry first aid kits around with them?
Yeah, good question. So I would say that in the population as a whole, there are a lot of people who would be rusty when it comes to CPR or how to manage choking. So I think every parent who's bringing a child abroad should be able to manage choking in that child. And I really think we all need to be competent enough to at least perform chest compressions and indeed to be able to use an automated external defibrillator. But we studied this. The availability of these in resource poor countries is really very limited. And so people might assume, well, if somebody suffers a cardiac arrest in my group, there'll be an AED nearby, like there would be at home. But that's not the case. And the pre-hospital emergency care services in many countries are really just not what we're used to in a more developed economy. So that's something to consider. As for the travel health kits, these are standard thing everybody should bring with them. I think we touched upon it in an earlier episode, and I always recommend that people talk to the local pharmacist, who'll be very useful when it comes to putting together a comprehensive kit. Now, you can buy ones that are already made up, and some are very elaborate. So I would bring a much more extensive set of equipment and medications if I'm a high altitude physician with a group than if I'm just traveling by myself. But depending on where I'm going and how isolated I'll be, I'll bring bring more or less, but I will know what's in the kit. Always have a list of what's in the kit. So if you're sick, somebody else then can refer to the list and then know if something is there that you're asking for. So yeah, I think we could do a whole episode on that.
Mhm. Thank you, Dr. Gerard. So next time when I'm packing for a trip, I'll be sure to remove one extra sweatshirt and replace it with a first aid kit, seeing as it's very important. But
Good man.
on the topic of first aid or medical care, we're moving on to our fourth segment for today, accessing medical care abroad. So, Dr. Puneet, let's say a traveler falls sick abroad. What's the first thing should they do?
I think they should be aware of the emergency numbers that they can call. I think that's the first thing. I personally, whenever I go, I do try to keep it there in my phone. So, and certainly if you are alone or your buddy or your spouse, whosoever is traveling with you, and so the number, the emergency number, you should have, if you're staying in the hotel, certainly you should be in contact with them. And what happens quite frequently is that you are lost in these jungles. I have myself heard of stories where people have been lost in the jungle, in the tropical forest, and dehydrated. Okay. So I think having a good mobile connection and knowing about the emergency numbers, that would be very, very important in case of any emergency. So that's what comes to my mind when we are traveling, accessing medical care, to know about the emergency numbers. That's, I think, to me, the most important step.
Thank you so much, Prof. Puneet. So, talking about emergencies, Prof. Gerard, do you have any advice on how travelers can find a reliable clinic or hospital in a foreign country, especially when they couldn't speak the local language and it's hard to navigate around?
Well, I think they need to prepare for this in advance of travel. So this is something that should come up in the pre-travel consultation. And there are very useful resources available to travelers. So IMAT, the International Association for Medical Assistance to Travelers, they can register with that and have find local English-speaking physicians, if English is their native language, in the country they're going to. At least they can find out where to access medical care, which physicians are comfortable treating travelers. The International Society of Travel Medicine also has a global travel clinic directory, so at least you can be directed to local physicians who have expertise in travel medicine. So there are useful resources available. Of course, you have to have travel insurance that's comprehensive and that also covers repatriation expenses. And as Dr. Puneet said, have important numbers written down. You can be in very isolated parts of the world where a satellite phone is necessary, where you have registered with an international medical assistance company that could fly in a helicopter to get you in the event of severe illness. But you'd be surprised, in a lot of the world, it's not possible to do that. Sometimes people think that they can be easily rescued. It's not always the case. So they should understand the environment they're going to and the limitations in the healthcare that are available in the event of an emergency. Perhaps going to a remote wilderness environment, it's safer if you go with somebody else or with a group. There'll be a tour operator, there'll be a guide, and those people will be able to activate the local health services rather than going solo.
Thank you, Dr. Gerard. Listeners, remember, don't take your health for granted. Anything could happen, so preparing in advance and preparing while on the trip is very important. Dr. Gerard brought up an important point of travel insurance, which brings me to the final question of the day. Should travelers get travel insurance? What should it cover and how should they go about it? I propose this question to Dr. Gerard.
Oh yes, they should get it without exception, but it's important that it covers any pre-existing conditions or that they know the limitations. Maybe it won't cover them, but they need to know this in advance. So if they have any medical history, they should contact the insurance company and declare all the current and past conditions and medications. They should have a copy of the policy with them. There's often a certificate page you can take a picture of or print off, but anything that's really important, don't depend on taking a photograph of it. You could lose your phone or there could be some issue with that. So your phone battery could die. So make sure you have important documents printed off. If a document is super important, then put it into a Ziploc bag or some bag to protect it from the rain, because these documents get wet. And it's important that the insurance covers any additional activities they're planning to undertake. So maybe they're planning to go skiing, or they're planning to go diving, going to high altitude above a certain elevation. They may need additional insurance coverage for that. It might be that the baseline policy doesn't cover certain activities, and it's really important that it covers medical repatriation, so that they're covered if they need to be airlifted medically to another destination or even back home.
Thank you so much, Prof Gerard. That was very good advice on why medical insurance is very important when traveling abroad. And with that, I think we're pretty much done with our podcast today. Thank you so much to both of you, Prof Gerard and Prof Puneet, for coming today. And we learned a lot of practical tips when traveling as well.
We learned a lot of very dense tips. So let's just sum it up really quick for the viewers today. So remember, viewers, when you're going to travel to a new country or a foreign country, be sure to get adequate health insurance that covers repatriation and everything, all of the above. Make sure to always bring a first aid kit. Try to ask the local pharmacy for help when you're getting a first aid kit. Remember, if you're going on hiking, to get blister patches and sufficient mosquito repellent, particularly DEET. And basically always remember to protect your eyes, a very valuable asset of ours. One final question to both doctors. If you had to sum up one golden rule in just a few words to stay safe while traveling, what would it be? Dr. Puneet, go ahead first.
Again, your eyes are your window to the world, very aptly put by you, and you should protect them. That will protect your vision and protect it like your passport. Okay, and keep it safe. Okay, and don't never take it granted. That's my takeaway message.
Thank you, Dr. Puneet. What about you, Dr. Gerard?
Road traffic collisions are the single greatest cause of death in young travellers. So my advice is to wear your seatbelt.
Thank you so much to both Prof Puneet and Prof Gerard. So before we end today's broadcast, I would like to inform the listeners to join us next time as we wrap up the series with our final episode, which is about after traveling and the surprising health checks you might need after your trip. See you then, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you liked this episode, hit the like button and share it with your friends.
For more updates, find us on YouTube, Instagram, or Spotify.
If you have any questions, do put them in the comment box below or DM us on Instagram.
Until then, this is the Via Sana team signing off.